between fungus and roots of higher plants. VAM, vascular arbuscular mycorrhiza, is used as P-solubilizing fung in plant roots. Cereals are deficient in which amino acid? Lysine. Amino acid which is deficient in legumes? Methionine. Power tiller is most suitable for the cultivation of paddy. Ammonium polyphosphate contains 15% N and 62% P20 RPSC, AO09. TZ, tetrazolium, test is done for viability of seeds. In wet nursery of rice, level of water is maintained 5 cm. The optimum depth of puddling in rice is 5 cm. Ultraviolet radiations are absorbed by ozone layer. First Indian director of IARI was Dr. B. Vishwanath. The most critical stage of irrigation in wheat is CI stage, 21 days after sowing. Juming is a practice of rice cultivation in eastern India. Part of basic objective of sustainable agriculture is maintain ecological balance to the plants growing in salt water are known as halophytes. Crop canopy temperature is measured by infrared thermometer. Reclamation disease is due to deficiency of copper hormone related to drought tolerance is abscisic acid, ABA. Contribution of livestock in agriculture is 29.7%. Hormone used as an herbicide, 2,4-D, dicamba. Element available in both anion and cation is nitrogen, IARI, pH.D11. Ballot box with checkmark dormancy breaking hormone is gibberellic acid. Ringworm disease is caused by fungus. Ballot box with checkmark monsoon is responsible to cause rainfall in northeast monsoon Tamil Nadu. Stress hardening in plants can be achieved by 34 ABA. 1101, a competitive book of agriculture. Maximum permissible limit of biuret in urea is 1.5%. Carbon content in organic matter 58%. Biofertilizer used in wheat is azadobacter. Biofertilizer used in sorghum and grasses is azospirillum. Vertical mulch is used in which type of soils? Black cotton soils. Criteria of essentiality were given by Arnon and Stout. The optimum spacing for wheat is 22.5 cm line to line. The non-traditional area for cultivating wheat is eastern India. Major pea fertilizer commonly used in India is DAP. State having minimum BPL population is Punjab. Maximum number of BPL peoples are in Bihar. Biofertilizer more suited for sugarcane is azadobacter. Depth of sowing of soybean seed 3 cm. First variety of rice introduced in India is TN-1, 1964-65. Indian mustard is known as Brassica juncea. Explosive fertilizer is ammonium nitrate. Most prominent soil group of India. Alluvial soil in SSP. Sulfur contains 12%, which micronutrient deficient in Indian soils. ZN, which macronutrient mostly deficient in Indian soils. Nitrogen heavy checkmark. Spike tooth harrow is a type of implement. Secondary tillage heavy checkmark. Most widely used material for correcting soil acidity is lime diara. Cultivation method is followed in cucurbits. Heavy checkmark. C. N ratio of organic matter is 10:1. National Seed Act was passed in 1966. Heavy checkmark. National Seed Corporation, NSC, in 1963. Heavy checkmark. Root promoting hormones, IBA. Heavy checkmark. Flower and fruit setting hormone, NAA. Bench terracing is done when slope is more than 15%, 16 to 33%. Mass per unit volume is called bulk density. Heavy checkmark. Disc plow is used when the soil is tough. Heavy checkmark. First man-made cereal is triticale. Cheapest N contains fertilizer is urea. First product of urea hydrolysis, ammonium carbamate. 1101, heavy checkmark. NABID was set up on the recommendation of Sivaraman Committee. Free living nitrogen fixing organism is azadobacter. The fruit of mustard is known as Siliqua. Supplemental irrigation is known as life-saving irrigation. Major agricultural importing commodity in India is edible oil, 65%. Lunashri is a variety of super rice. Plants with separate male and female flower on same plant are known as monoecious. National Biodiversity Board is situated at New Delhi. Beaufort scale is used to measure wind force. Speed 1 standard atmosphere is equal to 1013.25 mb. Ballot box with checkmark. Dieback of shoots occurred due to deficiency of copper. Ballot box with checkmark. Occurrence of grey spots on leaves is due to deficiency of manganese. Mn. Most destructive disease of sugarcane is red rot. Sugarcane potatoes are borne on Stolan potato tubers are a modified form of stem. Sowing of sugarcane in trench method is helpful to prevent lodging. For seed purpose, carrot is grown as biennial. Boron is harmful to plants when concentration is more than 3 ppm, which crop has maximum productivity among the cereals. Maize kaolin is a type of antitransference, reflecting type psychocell. The CCC is a growth retardants. Ballot box with checkmark. Family of sesame, Pedaliaceae. Family of jute, Tiliaceae. Exhaustive family of crops is Graminy, Poaceae. Origin of maize, Mexico. Origin of soybean, China. Origin of tobacco, Mexico. State having highest area under summer maize is Bihar. 361101, a competitive book of agriculture. Indian Journal of Agriculture Sciences published by ICAR. Yellowing of tea leaves may be due to the deficiency of sulfur. The greenhouse gas that released from paddy field is methane. The edible part of sweet potato, Ipomea batata, is adventitious root. Carbon dating technique is used to determine age of fossils. The irrigation method, which is suitable for saline soils, is flooding method. Element contributing to the disease and drought resistance is potassium. Heavy checkmark. Element involved in energy transfer and storage in plants is phosphorus. At present, how many nutrients are termed as essential elements for plants? 17 nutrients according to Arnon and Stout. How many nutrients are termed as essential elements for plants? 16 nutrients. Apical bud dominance is caused by due to auxin hormone. Highest consumption of K fertilizer in Maharashtra. Highest production of cereal crop in world is wheat. Seed rate of sorghum is 9-12 kg. Ahar desuckering is an important practice of tobacco. Name the weed, which was first biological controlled, Lantana Camera State, where seed law are adopted. Karnataka soil moisture tension directly measured by, tensiometer evapotranspiration measured by, lysimeter partial flame is used for measurement of. Water flow heavy checkmark flood irrigation method is suitable in the crop, rice and jute ballot box with checkmark fertilizer. Application through irrigation is known as fertigation post-harvest losses in cereals accounts for 10% 37. 1102, a competitive book of agriculture siltation is a process of wind erosion irrigation efficiency of loamy soils. 70%, highest, sowing pattern used in dry land is, broadcasting most efficient method of irrigation is, drip irrigation extensively grown pulse crop in India is, chickpea relative humidity measured by, psychrometer crops growing for conservation of soil moisture is known as, mulch crops example of erosion permitting crop is, maize example of erosion resistant crops. Cowpea, groundwater the herbicide used as pre-plant incorporation, PPI is, fluchloralin example of C3 weed is, Bethura lambsquatter, the botanical name of 2 road barley is, Hordeum distichon the name of 6 road barley is, Hordeum vulgare in which crop first AICRP was started maize 1957. Maize 1957, what is the optimum plant population for Bt cotton? 10,000 plants. A hard dropsy disease in human being is caused by the weed, Argemon mexicana, Sachanaceae. Crop is suitable for soil having pH 4 to 6. Red hemoglobin in root nodules is responsible for transport of O2. Annual rainfall in Rajasthan is about 500 to 575 millimeters. Aminophilic plants, sugarcane, and rice heavy checkmark country having 100% of the cropped area under irrigation. Egypt country having highest irrigation efficiency. Israel country having highest irrigated area. India optical wavelengths in remote sensing ranges 0.3 to 15 heavy checkmark. India is the first country to develop and use of hybrids in Bajra, and the first variety was HB1 1965 in India, which crop is having maximum area under irrigation. Wheat most extensively grown fruit crop in the world. Mango. Pusa giant is the variety of baseem, napier grass and papaya. Type of soil water which is most useful for plants is capillary water at equator day and nights are always equal. Atmospheric pressure always decreases with altitude. Horizontal heat transfers from warmer area to cooler area. The effect is known as cloth line effect, in which effect vertical heat transfers from warmer to cooler crop area. Oasis effect. The enzyme of nitrogen reduction is nitrogenase. The element of nitrate reduction is the molybdenum. Most of field crops require the pH range for optimum growth is 6.5 to 7.0. Hence, cultivated mostly crops are acidic in nature. IFFCO exam 09. Depth of water required by a crop is known as delta heavy checkmark. Area irrigated by 1 cubic discharge of water is. Duty period in days for which irrigation is supplied to a crop is. Base period 10. Rancidity in sunflower oil is due to oxidation. Varieties of black gram are T9, Panchi-19. Famous variety of moth bean is IMO 40, IMO-257. Elite varieties of mung bean are Pusa Baisakhi, SML 668. Heavy checkmark 0.1% solution in 500 liters of water is 500 ml, RPSC 09, SIF 09. AO bioclimatic low was proposed by Hopkins. Chemical safeners are also known as herbicide antidote, e.g. Na used first in maize. The low pressure area near the equator is called doldrums. ITCZ. Tricantanol is a growth stimulant obtains from leaves of lucerne. 391103. A competitive book of agriculture. Tillage increases the water holding capacity and infiltration of soil. It reduces bulk density, but land plow is small. Test among the wooden plows. It is used to puddle soil, and efficiency of 0.1 hectares for 8 hours. Blade harrow is known as backer, used for weed control before sowing. The sprinkler system of irrigation provides protection from cold by the release of latent heat of fusion. Splitting of a pod or fruit in characteristic manner at maturity is known as dehiscent. CG. Pods of pulse. Continuous consumption of lathyrus causes discase known as latherism, as its grains contains BOAA, benzoxylin acidic acid, and curotoxin. Fertilizer, which is preferred to grow succeeding crop in green manured soil. Phosphatic. The cattle consuming grasses of low magnesium content suffer from hypermagnesemia, commonly called as grass tadeni. AAO exam 2012. The practice of grazing of animals on public lands is called as ranching. Weather is a state or condition of atmosphere at a given place at a given instant of time. Recently, scientists separated germs in maize corn for manufacturing contraceptives. India's rank first in production and consumption of sugar in the world. The tobacco contributes the maximum excise revenue among agricultural commodities in India. India is the only country to have developed and grown hybrid cotton commercially. Karnataka is the largest producer of coffee in the country. China is the largest producing and consuming country of tobacco in the world, whereas India has third position in production of tobacco. Phenylmercuric acetate, PMA, is a chemical used in agriculture crops in order to reduce transpiration. Joa is known as camel crop. The kings of coarse grains. India is the second country after China to have commercialized the hybrid rice technology. HD 2329 variety of wheat contributed maximum production during Green Revolution in India. Plant rectangularity is plant to plant distance for row to row distance. 401104, a competitive book of agriculture in water erosion. 3 m deep and more than 18 m wide gully is known as small gully. G. 3 to 9 m deep and width of 18 more with side slope 8 to 15% is known as medium gully. G. The direction from which the winds are coming called as windward side. Agronomic measures are used to reduce corrosion where slope is less than 2%. Bench terracinges usually are practiced on slopes ranging from 16 to 33%. The highest award presented to an agricultural scientist in the country, Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award. Heavy checkmark. Over the years, the contribution of agriculture to GDP of Indian economy has been decreasing. Heavy checkmark, in which 5-year plan agroclimatic regional planning in India was initiating. 7th 5-year plan. 1988. Nitrogen fixation in rice field is carried out by blue-green algae with water fernozola. The pattern of planting which has maximum plant population, cubodial pattern cultivations of such crops, which have different natural habit and zero competition is known as parallel cropping. The variety of wheat, which is resistant to all the three rusts is Chodiloma. How many times a ratoon crop of sugarcane is advisable? One time cultivation of 2 or more than 2 crops of different heights simultaneously on a certain piece of land in a certain period is called multi-stored cropping. Nursery area required for seedling of 1 hectare rice field is 0.10 hectares. Tip burn of paddy is due to reduced O and N under submerged condition. Red and purple color of maize leaves is due to the deficiency of phosphorus. Center of Arine. Vavilon gave 8 center of origin and 3 subcenter. Major crops and their origin place, crop origin. Rice S. E. Asia, Burma tea China sugarcane, New Guinea soybean China 411104, a competitive book of agriculture. Wheat S. W. Asia, Turkey, mustard China gram S. W. Asia cowpea Africa maize C. America Mexico, cotton India. Tobacco C. America brinjal India groundnut Brazil Aha Africa Joa Africa moong India potato S. America, Peru, Bajra Africa terms, and related agronomists. Agronomist terms, the field irrigation agronomy Dr. N. G. Dastain. Cropping system Dr. S. S. Baines. Irrigation engineering AM Michelle SRNF, slow release nitrogen fertilizer, Dr. Rajendra Prasad heavy checkmark CRI stage of irrigation in wheat, functional nutrient essentiality of nutrient, criteria, Arnon and Stout 1939 refined by Arnon 1954 agrobiology Wilcox IW, CPE ratio Paraho et al 1974 transplanting in pearl millet Dr. Gortam coefficient of effectiveness Nichiporovich H, 4 hybrid of cotton Dr. C.T. Patel Jaya, first Indian variety of rice, Dr. Shostra law of minimum, J. V. Liebig in 1840. Law of limiting factor Black man, 1905, increase yield and low Wilcox ballot box with checkmark leaf area index Watson 1947 heavy checkmark nutrient mobility concept Braze, A.HA value concept Dean and friend 4P, harvesting index Donald photoperiodism concept Gardner, and Allard 1920 thermoperiodism F, Went fertilization Lysenko antibiotics, penicillin, Alexandrian Fleming Bacillus radicolor, now Rhizobium, Beijerinck 1890. 421104 of Ager. N.A. A competitive book of agriculture Rothamsted experimental station, I.B. Lava, and J. H. Gilbert, 1843. Father of field plot experiment J. B. Busingo. Father of pedology V. Dokachive. Father of golden revolution Dr. L. Chatter. Father of tillage with science Jethro Tull. Father of soil testing technique M. L. Trug. Father of soil microbiologies N. Winogradsky. Father of agriculture chemistry J. V. Liebig. Unit 1 Agronomy. The term derived from of 2 Greek words. Agros equals field, nomos equals to manage. Definition can be defined as a branch of agricultural sciences that deal with methods which provide favorable environment to the crop for higher productivity. Indian agriculture is predominantly of the subsistence type. Peter de Crescenzi, 1230 to 1307 AD, collected many literatures related to agronomy in his book Opus Ruralium Camo Darum for the first time. He is known as father of agronomy. Van Helmont, 1577 to 1644 AD, concluded that the main principle of vegetation is water. Jethro Tull, 1674 to 1741 AD, published a book Horse Hoeing Husbandry, and the words weeds and zero tillage were firstly given by him. He is known as father of weed science. Arthur Young, 1741 to 1820 AD. Conducted pot culture experiments to increase the yield of crops by applying several materials like poultry dung, litter, gunpowder, etc. Published his work in 46 volumes as Annals of Agriculture. A truly scientific approach to farming was started in 1840 by Justus von Liebig. 431105. Important concepts. A competitive book of agriculture 1. Leaf area index. Concept was developed by Watson, 1948. LAI total leaf area, m squared, ground acre, m squared, 2. Land equivalent ratio. LER it means the relative land area occupied by a sole crop that is required to produce the yield achieved in intercropping. LER equals yield of intercropping, A plus B here, yield of sole crop, A equals sole crop B equals intercrop when LER, 1, intercropping is beneficial. E.GLER, 1.10 means mixture gives 10% more yield. 3. Cropping intensity. Total cropping area CL equals X 100 net cultivated area. Cropping intensity of India is nearly 135%. 4. Crop rotation. In crop rotation land is fixed but crop is rotated year after year on same land. I.e. after cultivation of cereals should be taken pulse crop in next year. It maintains and improves soil fertility. It checks the soil erosion and conserves moisture. The incidence of harmful pathogens, insect pests, nematodes and weeds which are associated with particular crop can be managed. 5. Crop rotation intensity. CI equals no of crops in crop rotation times 100 no of years in crop rotation for 1 year, rice P, 200%. Crop rotation for 2 years, groundnut wheat sugarcane, 150%. Crop rotation for 3 years, paddy potato sugarcane AHA wheat, 166%. 441105, 6. Cropping system. A competitive book of agriculture. It refers to the cropping patterns used on a farm and their interaction with farm resources, associated farm enterprises, and the available component technology. 7. Harvesting index. The efficient utilization, or assimilation of CO, in the form of photosynthesis, is expressed in terms of harvest index. HL is also called coefficient of effectiveness. HI economic yield, grain, biological yield, grain plus straw. Times 100. HL is similar to partitioning coefficient 8. Coefficient of effectiveness, CE, equals sink source x 100. Source, parts of the plant where photosynthesis occurs, generally leaves. Sink, where photosynthesis accumulates, generally grain is the sink, but may be exceptions viz. Stem in potato, roots in sugar beet, and leaves in pollock is the sink. 9. Sorghum sickness. The stubbles of sorghum takes a long time to decompose due to wide C/N ratio. Hence, during the process of decomposition soil nitrogen gets blocked or temporarily immobilized, affecting the growth of succeeding crop by showing early nitrogen deficiency symptoms due to wide C/N ratio of sorghum residue. To reduce sorghum effect, 25% more nitrogen is applied at the time of first fertilizer dose of succeeding crop. Dry land agriculture, Unit 2 means cultivation of crops entirely under rain-fed condition. A. Dry farming. Cultivation of crops in areas where annual rainfall is less than 750 mm. Crop failure due to prolonged dry spells during crop period is most common. Dry farming is practiced in arid regions with the help of moisture conservation practices. Alternate land use system is suggested in this region. 451106b. Dry land farming, a competitive book of agricultural cultivation crops in areas where annual rainfall is more than 75% mm, but less than 1,150 mm, is called dry land farming. Millimeter soil moisture conservation measure is the key for dry land farming practice in semi-arid regions. Drainage facility may be required especially in black soils. C. Rain-fed farming means cultivation of crops in regions where annual rainfall is more than 1,150 mm, is called as rain-fed farming. This farming is practiced in humid regions. SN constituent 123 rainfall, millimeter, moisture availability to crop growing season 4 growing region cropping system constraints dryland farming less than 800 mm shortage, PET-P less than 200 days arid, sub-arid and subhumid. Single or mixed cropping wind and water erosion rain-fed farming greater than 800 enough, PET-P greater than 200 days humid and subhumid double intercropping water erosion 561. Agroclimatic regional planning. Unit 3 it was initiated in 1988 by the Planning Commission under the 7th Five-Year Plan. Regional planning was come into force on the basis of agroclimatic factors for balanced regional growth. Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog, is headed by Prime Minister of India. 2. Agroclimatic zones, Niti Aayog National Institution for Transforming India, 2015. Agroclimatic zones are classified on the basis of criteria of homogeneity in agro-characteristics such as rainfall, temperature, soil, topography, water resources and cropping system. According to Planning Commission, India has been divided into 15 agroclimatic zones. According to NARP, the ICAR India has divided into 131 agroclimatic zones. 461106, a competitive book of agriculture. A. The Trans-Gangetic Plain Zone. It consists of Punjab, Haryana, Union Territories of Delhi and Chandigarh, and Ganganagar district of Rajasthan. It has highest irrigated area, highest net sown area, high cropping intensity, and high groundwater. Utilization. 3. Agroecological region. Agroecological region is the land unit cut out of agroclimatic region when superimposed on land form and the kind of soils and soil conditions that act as modifiers to climate and length of growing period. According to NBSS and LUP, India has been divided into 21 agroecological zones, now 20. According to ICAR, agroecological zones are divided into 8 zones. 4. Drought, as a situation occurring in any area in a year when annual rainfall is less than 75% of the normal is known as drought. When deficiency of rainfall is above 50% of the normal, called severe drought. 5. Moisture availability index. It is the ratio between rainfalls, weekly and monthly, at 50% probability level to potential evapotranspiration of the corresponding period. MAI equals rainfall at 50% probability of PET 6. Evapotranspiration, ET soil moisture, is the most limiting factor in dry land agriculture. About 60 to 70% of the rainfall is lost through evaporation. The evapotranspiration is the evaporation from the soil surface and transpiration from the plant surface. ET losses can be reduced by use of mulches, anti-transpirants, and wind breaks. A. Anti-transpirant materials are applied to plant surface to reduce transpiration from the plant. Anti-transpirants reduce photosynthesis. Hence, their use should be limited to save the crop from death under severe moisture stress. They have some practical use in nurseries and horticultural crops. Anti-transpirants are mainly 4 types. 471107-1, stomata closing type. A competitive book of agricultures, they reduce water loss through closing stomata. E.g. phenylmercuric acetate, PMA, at 10(2), film-forming atrazine and CO, are also acts as effective anti-transpirants, checks transpiration loss of water due to formation of this film, which acts as physical barrier. E.g. mobileaf, hexadecanol, silicone, oils, waxes. 3. Reflecting type. These chemicals reflect the radiation and reduce lead temperature. Application of kaolin at 5% reduces transpiration losses. 4. Growth retardants. These chemicals reduce shoot growth and increase root growth and thus enable the plants to resist drought. They also induce stomata closing, e.g. cycocell, the CCC. B. Wind breaks and shelter belts. Wind breaks are such structures which break the wind flow and reduce wind speed. While shelter belts are rows of trees or shrubs planted across the wind direction for protection of crop against wind. Windbreak and shelter belt provides the protective shelter against desiccating winds to the extent of 5 to 10 times the height of tall tree on windward side and up to 30 times on leeward side. 7. Agroforestry. Agroforestry is a sustainable land management system which increases the use of land, combines the production of crops, fruits, forest plants, and or animals. It is also known as tree crop planting system. Components of agroforestry. A. Agri-silviculture. The growing of agricultural crops along with the forest trees is known as agri-silviculture. Agriculture crops plus forest crops, silviculture. B. Silvopastoral system. Forests are managed for the production of wood as well as for rearing of domesticated animals. Silviculture plus pasture management. C. Agro-silvopastoral system. Agriculture crops plus forest crops plus pasture management. D. Agri. Hortisilvicultural system. 481107. A competitive book of agriculture, agriculture crops plus horticulture, silviculture, agri-silviaquaculture system. Agriculture crops plus forest crop fish production unit 4. Soil conservation measures. Adopted where slope is less than 2% and erosion problems are not severe. 1. Agronomic measures it includes contour cultivation, tillage, mulching, and strip cropping. A contour cultivation of crops by sowing across the slope. It conserves soil fertility and water. B. Mulching. Mulch is any material applied on the soil surface to check evaporation and improve soil water, e.g. crop residues, leaves, manures, polythene films, etc. It is most important tactics to conservation of soil moisture and reduces erosion for agriculture in dry regions. C. Strip cropping system of cropping in which long and narrow strips of erosion-resisting crops, close-growing crops, are alternated with strips of erosion-permitting crops. 2. Mechanical measures adopted to supplement the agronomical practices, and when land slope is more than 2%. It includes following practices. A. Contour bunding. Contour bunding is adopted up to 6% slope of land and used in arid and semi-arid areas with high infiltration and permeability. B. Graded bunding recommended in areas receiving rainfall of more than 800 mm per year. In general, bunding is suitable for lands having slopes from 2 to 10%. Contour and graded bunding are mostly used in India. C. Subsoiling. Breaking of hardpan of soil by the subsoiler at 30 to 60 cm depth and 90 to 180 cm interval. 49-1107, A Competitive Book of Agriculture. D. Broadbed and furrow (BBF) system. Suitable for managing rainwater in deep black soils where surface drainage during the monsoon period is a problem. C. Bench terracing. Adopted in lands where slope ranging from 16 to 33% on sloping and undulating land. Stoop zinc terracing adopted in lands with 3 to 10% slopes. Zinc terraces are constructed in medium to deep soils in moderate to high rainfall areas. G. Vegetative barriers. These are closely spaced plantations, usually a few rows of grasses or shrubs grown along contours for erosion control. Cous of Vetiveria zelanica is the most suitable plant for this purpose. H. Vertical mulching. Digging narrow trenches across the slope at intervals and placing the straw or crop residues in these trenches. It is mostly practiced in coffee gardens. Unit -5 Climate weather, a state or condition of atmosphere at a given place and at a given time. Atmosphere. It is a colorless, tasteless and odorless mixture of gases that surround the Earth. It extends up to a height of about 1,600 kilometers. However, 99% of total mass of the atmosphere is within a height of 40 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Structure of atmosphere, based on vertical temperature differences. Atmosphere is divided into 4 layers. 1. Troposphere. It is the lowermost layer of atmosphere extending up to a height of 8 to 18 km from the Earth's surface. RPSC. AAO 09.8 km from polar and 18 km from equator. Temperature decreases with increase in altitude at the rate of 6 degrees Celsius a kilometer. It influences Earth climate. 501108, A Competitive Book of Agriculture. It is dense part of atmosphere, contains 85% of the atmosphere's mass. All weather phenomena like clouds, rain, mist, fog, dew, etc. occur in troposphere. IAI, pH, D092. Stratosphere. It is a second major atmosphere layer, which lies beyond the height of 8 to 18 kilometers and extending up to 50 kilometers. It is warmest layer, increased temperature with altitude. It is the actual seat of most of the photochemical reactions in air. Due to presence of ozone layer, UV rays are absorbed, hence it is also called ozonosphere. Most of concentration of ozone is present about a height of 25 kilometers from the Earth's surface. 3. Mesosphere. It lies above the stratosphere, a height of 50 kilometers extending up to 80 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Cold region. Strong decrease in temperature with increase in altitude. 4. Thermosphere. In this layer, atmospheric densities are extremely low from Earth's surface. It is extending a height of 80 kilometers up to 1,600 kilometers. The lower layer of thermosphere is called ionosphere. Long-distance radio communication is made possible through this ionized layer. It is outermost layer is called exosphere. Exosphere is the layer above ionosphere. Temperature increase with altitude. 1. Composition of atmospheric air. Principal gases of atmosphere. SN123 gases: nitrogen, N, oxygen, O2, argon, Ar, 4 carbon dioxide, Co, 5 neon, Ne. Volume percent 78.08 20.95 0.93 RPSC AAO 09 0.03 300-360 ppm 0.0018%. 2. Composition of soil air. Nitrogen percentage is more or less same as in atmosphere. Oxygen levels slightly decrease as compared to atmosphere. 511108. A Competitive Book of Agriculture's co-levels will be nearly 8 to 10 times more, 0.25% atmosphere defined as the energy falling in 1 minute on a surface area of 1. As compare solar constant. Square centimeter at the outer boundary of the atmosphere, held normal to the sunlight, at the mean distance of the curve from the solar constant value is 1.94 calories per cubic centimeter per minute, or SI unit is 13 sun watts m squared. The solar radiation is received in the form of electromagnetic waves. Particles are called quanta or photons. PAR, photosynthetic active radiation. Photosynthesis in green leaves use solar energy in wavelengths from 0.4 to 0.7 or the radiation 400 to 700 nanometers, is most active in photosynthesis, is known as photosynthetic active radiation. PAR or photons are measured by quantum sensor. Unit is Einstein or watt m squared lux. It is the oldest unit to measure intensity, brightness, of solar radiation. Spectrometer measures solar radiation in narrow wave bands. Lapse rate. The vertical temperature decrease or gradient is expressed as lapse rate. Normally lapse rate is 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Adiabatic lapse rate. The rate at which the temperature changes as air rises or falls is called adiabatic lapse rate. Dry adiabatic lapse rate, 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer. The condition in which there is abrupt rise instead of fall in temperature is called inversion. Albedo. It's the ratio between incoming and outgoing solar radiations on the Earth's surface. It is the percentage of the incident solar radiation reflected by a surface is known as albedo. It is expressed in percentage. The albedo of crop surface is ranging between 23 to 30%. The albedo for fresh snow is ranging from 75 to 95%. 521109. A competitive book of agriculture. Cyclone. A cyclone is a roughly circular low pressure area whose diameter may be from 100 to 1,000 miles and wind movement towards the center. Atmospheric pressure is always lowest in the center of this region and increases rapidly outward, e.g., tornado, typhoons, hurricanes are names of cyclone. Climate. Climate is a generalized weather or summation of weather condition over a given region during a comparatively longer period. Classification of climate. A. De Candolle, 1900 AD, the first person to attempt the classification of climate based on vegetation. B. Koppen, 1936, divided the world climate into 5 groups based on weather elements. C. Troll, 1965, this classification has been found satisfactory to explain vegetation zones of tropical Africa and S. America. This classification is suitable for agricultural purpose. The ICRISAT, Hyderabad, adopted this method for classifying semi-arid tropics in India. D. Thornthwaite, based on PE index, T and season distribution of rainfall. PE index P, EX 100, where P equals precipitation of effectiveness. P equals annual precipitation. E equals annual evaporation. E. Moisture deficit index, MDI. AICRP on dry land, ICAR, adopted classification based on MDI. MDI pipette, pipette times 100 types of climate. MDI values: subhumid 0 to 33.3, semi-arid minus 33.3 to minus 66.6, arid dash 66.6. 531109 measures of humidity. A competitive book of agriculture. Humidity means water vapor content of the atmosphere. Relative humidity, water vapor present in the air. RII, water vapor required for saturation. 100 relative humidity is expressed in percentage, percent symbol. Simplest in measurement, mostly useful for agriculture. B. Absolute humidity. Unit of absolute humidity is G m squared. C. Specific humidity. Unit of specific humidity is G a kilogram. Forms of precipitation. Rain, drops of greater than 0.5 to 6 mm drizzle, drops of less than 0.5 mm snow, ice crystal resulting from sublimation dew, moisture condensed in small drops upon cool surface frost, a feathery deposit of ice fog, a thin cloud of varying size mist, a very thin fog vapor, water vapor in the atmosphere. It constitutes only about 0.001% of the total global water. Temperature, it is the most important variable of weather measurement of temperature. The SI unit for temperature is degree Celsius, degree C, A, Celsius. In Celsius scale, the melting and boiling point of water are 0 and 100 degrees Celsius respectively. C equals F32, 5/9 B, Fahrenheit. In Fahrenheit scale, the melting and boiling point of water are 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 212 degrees Fahrenheit. F equals C, 9/5 plus 32 C, Kelvin. Absolute temperature is measured in Kelvin units. When there is no activity of molecules of substances, then it is said to be at 0 degrees Kelvin. The melting point of water in Kelvin scale is 273 K, and steam point is 373 degrees Kelvin. Degree K equals degree C plus 273. 541110 Instruments, a competitive book of agriculture. Maximum thermometer. It is used to measure the highest temperature attained during the day. It consists of hollow glass tube filled with mercury. B. Minimum thermometer. It is used to measure lowest temperature. It consists of a glass tube with alcohol in bulb. Soil thermometer. It is a mercury thermometer with a bend at the bulb C end. D. Thermocouples. These are used for measuring soil temperature, and they are 2 types, viz., thermoelectric and resistance. Phenomenons, contour, lines joining equal elevations. Isopleths, line joining uniform values of any phenomena. Isobar, imaginary lines connecting points of equal atmospheric pressures. Isohyates, lines of connecting points of equal amounts of rainfall. Isobaths, imaginary lines connecting points of equal water table elevations. Isohells, lines connecting points of equal sunshine hours. Isophene, lines connecting points of similar seasonal phenomenon. Isotherm, lines connecting points of equal temperature. Isotope, elements having equal number of neutrons. Isopluvial, lines joining equal depth of rainfall. Isotech, lines connecting points of equal wind velocities. Isosteer, lines connecting points of constant moisture contents. Isodemic, lines which join the places of similar disease severity. Isoclines, a curve connecting the least cost combinations of input for all output. Instruments and their use: instrument altimeter, aneroid barometer. Anemometer, Beaufort scale, Crescograph, dynamometer, Campbell-Stokes, uses height, atmospheric pressure, wind speed, wind force, in sea growth of plant, convert mechanical energy to electrical duration of sunshine. 551110 ECG. Windway intensiometers, galvanometer, pyrometer, hydrometer, hygrometer, psychrometer, lactometer, lysimeter, manometer, planimeter, perheliometer, pyranometer, pycnometer, piezometer, pitometer, a competitive book of agricultures. Movement of heart, wind direction, soil moisture tension, electric currents, stomal behavior, measures relative density of liquids, relative humidity, density of milk, milk purity, evapotranspiration, a leaching loss of water, root pressure, area of an irregular figure, measures amount of direct solar radiation, measure total incoming, global, solar radiation, specific gravity of soil, depth of water table. Transpiration, classification of irrigation projects, project CCA, AHA, major greater than 10,000 cost, RS. Greater than 50 crores medium, 2,000 to 10,000 5 crores to 25 lakhs minor, less than 2,000 less than 25 lakhs unit 6 monsoon. The word monsoon has originated from the Arabic word mausim, which means season. Monsoon is often referred to seasonal reversal of winds over the Indian Ocean, especially in Arabian Sea. India is situated in the northeast trade wind zone, and these trade winds continue throughout the year. Total amount of precipitation in country is 1,194 millimeters. Or total rainfall generated volume in India is 400 mHam, average rainy days in country, 130 days per year. Rainy day greater than 2.5, none rains, during 24 hours, called rainy day. 561111, OK, all a competitive book of agriculture. 1. The southwest monsoon, S. W monsoon reach South India, at coast of Kerala, around 1 inch June of every year, and in the middle of July it covers whole India under the grip of rainfall. Its withdrawals start from western Rajasthan in the 1st of September, to complete withdrawal from whole country by the 15th of October. It moves at average speed 30 km per hour. It's called as grand period of rainfall in India. It contributes around greater than 75% of total rainfall in India. In Tamil Nadu the concentration is only 20 to 40% during southwest monsoon, since most of the rainfall is received during northeast monsoon in Jammu and Kashmir. The concentration of rainfall during southwest monsoon is about 35 to 50% and remaining portion is fulfills from western disturbances during November to April. Southwest monsoon has two branches. A. Arabian Sea branch contributes 770 mm rainfall, 80% of SW monsoon. This moves northward in Delhi. B. Bay of Bengal contributes 340 mm rainfall, about 20% of SW monsoon. This move up to Assam. 2. The northeast monsoon. Northeast monsoon is onset at about the 15th of October, and it is limited mostly to southern states, AP and TN, and withdrawal almost by mid-December. Tamil Nadu gets highest annual rainfall in northeast monsoon, followed by Andhra Pradesh. This monsoon is also known as retreating monsoon. It contributes about 15% of total rainfall in India. Western disturbances. It moves from west to east direction. It defined as a low pressure or cyclonic circulation in the wind above the surface, which moves from western countries to Himalayas mountains, J&K. December to March is the main period when western disturbances carry rainfall in north and central India, which are very useful for rabi crops, and in Rajasthan locally known as Mavath 571111, a competitive book of agriculture. El Nino is a phenomenon that leads to rise in the August temperatures, start from coast of Peru, and affect Indian monsoon. Consequent dry weather and drought river which utilize maximum flow, Gonga artificial rain making or cloud seeding application of foreign material to clouds to induce precipitation is called cloud seeding. A. Cold seeding silver iodide, AgL, or dry ice is applied at 1 nuclei for a liter of cloud air. In dynamic cloud seeding, massive quantities of 1,000 nuclei for a liter of cloud air are applied. B. Warm clouds generally use sodium chloride, NaCl. Weather forecasting, less than 3 days or up to 72 hours. Short range, medium range, 3 to 10 days. Long range, greater than 10 days. The short range forecasting is issued twice a day and especially valid for 36 hours. The long range forecasts are issued thrice in a year and are useful for choosing cropping patterns. The prediction of monsoon is based on statistical observations of long range forecasting, while synoptic method of forecasting is used for short range forecasts. NCMRWF, National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, New Delhi. Properties of water. Latent heat of vaporization, 580 calories, at 0 degrees Celsius. Heat of sublimation is 680 calories per G at 0 degrees Celsius. Heat of fusion is 80 calories per G at 0 degrees Celsius. Highest density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Water expands on freezing, 9% by volume. Dielectric constant of water is -80. Water has highest specific heat 1 cal per G of any known substances, except liquid ammonia, i.e. 1.03 cal per G. Water logging. A situation where all the pores, both macro and micro, are filled with water temporarily or permanently. 581112, a competitive book of agriculture. Demerit of water logging reduces ODR, oxygen diffusion rate. Heavy checkmark reduce A, redox potential. A of well aerated soil is 400-700 MV. A of waterlogged soil minus 250 to 300 MV. Denitrification loss more in waterlogged soils. Heavy checkmark in submerged rice SO are reduced to sulfide that is further reduced to HS that causes aciochi in rice due to toxicity of HS. Approaches of irrigation scheduling. A transpiration ratio approach, amount of water transpired by a crop to produce unit amount of dry matter. This is also known as absolute approach. B. Soil moisture deficit approach. For maize and wheat, 25% depletion of available soil moisture. For drought-resistant crops, 50% depletion of available soil moisture. C. Climatologically approach, or IW, a CPE approach, known as soil moisture index approach. The ratio IW, CPE serve as soil moisture stress index. Lower the ratio will be more stress. It is scientific approach, but not practical utility. D. Critical stage approach. The state of growth when plants are most sensitive to shortage of water and most responsive to correction of deficiency. Crop rice critical stage. Booting, panicle initiation, flowering IW, a CPE ratio 1.2, highest 0.9, 0.9 wheat CI, tillering, jointing, flowering, milking, door maize tasseling, silking cotton flowering, boll formation 0.7 gram pre-flowering, pod development 0.6. 0.6 groundnut flowering, pegging, pod filling pigeon pea flower initiation, pod formation 0.6 safflower flower initiation 0.4, lowest 59 11 13, crop sugarcane 93% wheat 85%. A competitive book of agriculture. Percentage irrigated and water requirement of major field crops. Percent irrigated area water requirement, millimeter, 1500 to 2500 650 to 800 rice 50% 1500 oilseed 25% pulses 10% 500 to 700 450 to 700 measurement of irrigation water. 1 cubic, 28.3 liters 1 cubic, 1000 liters, or 103 1 hectare millimeter, 10, 000 liters, or 104 1 hectare cm, 100, 000 lit, or 105, 1 hectare m, 100, 000 lit, or 10 or 1000 cubic meters. Type measures of water height, 1 atmosphere. 1 bar conversion units of 1 acre 0.405 ha. 1 ha 2.47 acre. Plowing is classified, according to Kreider, Hyderabad 1985, as 1036 centimeters of water 1023 centimeters of water shallow depth, in cm, 5 to 6 medium 15 to 20. Deep watershed management, 25 to 30. It may be a natural unit of land whose runoff collects and flows out of the area through a single common outlet into a river or other water body. Classification of watershed 1. Macro watershed greater than 50,000 hectares 2. Sub-macro watershed, 10,000 to 50,000 hectares 3. Miller watershed, 1,000 to 10,000 hectares 4. Micro watershed, 100 to 1,000 hectares. 5. Mini watershed, 10 to 100 hectares. 601113, a competitive book of agriculture unit 7. Irrigation. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to partially meet the crop evapotranspiration requirement. Irrigation methods. 1. Surface irrigation, most common method of irrigation in India. It includes following methods. A flood irrigation, water is applied to the crop by flooding it on the soil surface. This method is practiced where irrigation water is abundant. Mostly adopted in wetland rice. Useful in uniform surface soils with good water holding capacity. B. Check basin, most common among surface methods, suitable for close-growing crops e.g. wheat, groundnut, pearl millet, etc. It consists in running water into relatively level basins surrounded by small ridges. Field with slope up to 3% can be irrigated by using this method. A limitation of this method is that it has too many ridges, which occupy a large area of land and require too much labor to formed beds. C. Ring basin, suitable for fruit crops. D. Border strip method. In this method the field is divided into number of strips, which are separated by ridges. Soils with a slope of 0.5 to 1% are suitable for this method. Suitable for all close-growing crops on medium to heavy texture soils, but not suitable for sandy soil. E. Furrow method. This method is generally used to irrigate row crops and vegetables, and is suited to soils in which infiltration rates are between 0.5 to 2.5 cm an hour. It is ideal for slopes varying from 0.2 to 0.5% and a stream size of 1 to 2 1 per second. 611113, a competitive book of agriculture. The length of furrows may vary from 30 m for sandy soils at lesser slope to 300 m for heavy soils at greater slope. Furrow irrigation is suitable to most type of soils except sands that have a very high infiltration rate. Furrows are mostly suitable for root and tuber crops. F. Corrugation. Small and shallow furrow are known as corrugation, suitable for close-growing crops like wheat, groundnut, etc. G. Surge irrigation. The term surge irrigation is the intermittent application of water to the field surface under gravity flow, which results in a series of ON and OFF modes of constant or variable time span. This process of on-off water supply and cut-off results in minimized deep percolation and runoff losses, hardly exceeding 20%. Not popular in India. H. Cabligation. It's an automatic method of surface irrigation. 2. Subsurface or subsoil irrigation system. Water is applied into a series of field ditches through underground pipelines, generally followed in Western countries. This method is practiced in Kerala for coconut garden and in Gujarat and Kashmir and sandy loam soils. 4. Vegetables. Drip system can be used in subsurface method. 3. Sprinklers. Water is applied with pressure to the surface of any crop or soil in the form of a thin spray, somewhat resembling rainfall. This system consists of sprinkler heads or nozzles, which are mounted on risers in lateral lines taken from main line, which is further connected to a pumping unit. The rate of spray of water can be regulated and natural rainfall can be simulated. Sprinkler irrigation can be used for almost all crops, except rice and jute, and on most soils, except heavy clay soils. It is especially suited for fields with steep slopes or irregular topography. Advantages of sprinkler irrigation. Suitable for undulating topography and sandy soils. Saving of water from 25 to 50% for different crops. 62. 1114, a competitive book of agriculture. Discharge rate is more than 1,000 lit per hour. Sprinkler pressure 2.5 to 4.5 kg per cm squared. Water use efficiency can be as high as 60%, much higher, to surface method of irrigation. Increase 40% in irrigated area with same amount of water as compared with surface method of irrigation. About 40 to 60% saving in labor compared with surface. It can be used to protect crops against frost and high temperatures. 4. Drip irrigation, introduced from Israel. Drip or trickle irrigation is one of the latest methods of irrigation, which is becoming increasingly popular in areas with water scarcity and salt problems. This irrigation is defined as the precise, but slow application of water as discrete drops or continuous drops through mechanical devices, called emitters, located at selected points along water delivering lines. This system involves the slow application of water, drop by drop, to the root zone of a crop. In this method, water is used very economically, since losses due to deep percolation and surface evaporation are reducing to the minimum. Drip irrigation is best suited in water scarcity area where water quality is marginal, topography is undulating or steep, soil depth is restricted, labor is expensive and crop value is high. Advantages of drip irrigation. Suitable for water scarcity area, water saving 50 to 70% as compared to surface. Irrigation efficiency about 90 pecent camper to surface method. Fertilizer or other chemical amendment can be efficiently applied to individual or separate plants. Discharge rate of water per dripper is generally 1.8 lit hour at 1.5 2.5 kg per cm squared pressure. Fertilizers, fertigation, and herbicides, herbigation, also possible to apply with drip through venture, most suitable for widely spaced crops, orchard trees and in greenhouses, protected cultivation of vegetables and flowers. 5. Typhoon system of drip irrigation, 63. 1114, a competitive book of agriculture in sugarcane modified drip. In this method, IA depth maintained at a particular growth stage. Particular what? Drainage. Agricultural drainage is the removal of excess water known as flow water of gravitational water from the surface or below the surface of the farmland so as to create favorable soil conditions for plant growth. Drainage methods. 1. Surface drainage. 2. Subsurface drainage. 1. Surface drainage. It is simplest and cheapest method of drainage, most common in India by digging open drains at suitable intervals and depth. A. Drainage of flat areas where slope less than 2%. B. Broad bed and furrow system. BBF field is laid out into 120 to 150 centimeters with beds and 45 centimeters wide furrows across the slope. About 0.5% slope is provided for free drainage. Crops are sowed on beds having 2 or more than 2 rows each. The beds are 15 centimeters raised. BBF methods are widely practiced in groundnut, clay soil. 2. Subsurface drainage. Purpose is to lower down the ground water level below root zone. Subsurface drainage includes A. Tile drains, including perforated pipes. B. Mole drainage, suitable for clay soil. C. Vertical drainage. Drainage by digging wells is called vertical drainage. This practiced in coffee gardens. Methods of water measurements. 1. Orifices. To measure water in comparatively small streams like flow into border stripes furrows, check basin. 2. Weirs. Used to measure the flow in an irrigation channel or the discharge of a channel outlet at the source. Basic equation for discharge through weir is Q equals CLH. Discharge relationship for suppressed weirs is equals 0.0184 LH 264 1115. A competitive book of agriculture 90 degrees V. Notch weir is an excellent device for measuring small flows. The discharge may be computed using the formula Q 0.0138H. Partial flume, venture flume combination of weir and the submerged orifice can be used even in relatively shallow channels like irrigation furrows with flat grades unit 8 metric potential. Soil moisture constants, the total water potential that is attributed to the solid colloidal matrix of the soil system. Capillary potential. The energy with which water is held by soil is defined in terms of capillary potential. Seepage. Horizontal flow of water channel is called seepage. Water loss from the irrigation channel or canal is mainly due to seepage. Percolation. Downward movement of water through saturated or nearly saturated soil in response to the gravity. Infiltration. Entry of water from the upper layer of soil is called infiltration. It occurs in unsaturated soil. Leaching. Downward movement of nutrients and salts from the root zone with the water is called leaching. Saturation capacity. When all the soil pores are filled with water at a tension of 0 bars is termed as saturation capacity. It is called as maximum water holding capacity. Field capacity. FC. The soil moisture content, after 2 to 3 days of irrigation, and after drainage of gravitational water, has become very slow, and soil moisture content had become relatively stable. At the field capacity, the large pores filled with air and the micropores are filled with water. It is considered as the upper limit of water availability to plants. 651117, a competitive book of agriculture. The tension at field capacity ranges from -0.1 to -0.33, 1/3. It is determined with the help of pressure plate apparatus. Permanent wilting point, PWP. The concept permanent wilting point, PWP, proposed by Braza and Schenz in 1912. PHP. They utilized dwarf sunflower as an indicator plant. Soil moisture content at which plants can be no longer obtains enough moisture to meet their requirement and remained wilted unless water is added to the soil. It is the lower limit of available water to plant. Although plants not dead, but they are now in a permanently wilted condition and die if water is not added. Soil moisture tension at PWP is about 15 bars or 15 atmosphere wilting coefficient. The percentage of moisture in root zone at the permanent wilting of plants is called the Willand coefficient or critical moisture point. Available water. Concept of available water given by Weymouth and Hendrickson. 1981. It is the soil moisture available for maximum plant use. It is the portion of capillary water held between field capacity to PWP, i.e. -0.3 to -15 bars. Ultimate wilting point. The moisture content at which wilting is complete and the plant die is called UWP. At UWP, the soil moisture tension is as high as -60 bars. pH. The term pH given by SBL Sorensen, 1909, defined as the negative logarithm of hydrogen ion activity. Log 1 H range, 0 to 14.7 acidic, neutral, basic, 7 p-value. It is defined by Schofield, 1935. The logarithm of centimeter height of a water column to give the necessary suction. Expressed in centimeter of water, based on the height of a water column above free water level in cm. 661117, a competitive book of agriculture. Soil condition p-values 0 pressure, ATM, a bars, saturated soil, 2.530.0011 1/3 1531. Field capacity, PWP, 4.18 hygroscopic 0.4.50 oven dry soil, 7.010,000 p given by Silon. It is negative logarithm of electron activity. P equals A, 0.0591. It measure intensity of oxidation reduction. Measurement of soil moisture, indirect method, on the basis of tension. These are followings. A. Tensiometer barometer. This method is based on principle that the capillary tension increases with decrease in soil moisture contents and vice versa. Tensiometers are sensitive up to 0.85 bars of soil moisture, suitable for sandy soil at field capacity or below it, in which most of the available water below 1 bar tension. Not suitable for clay soil. Tensiometers are very useful in scheduling irrigation to frequently irrigated crop. B. Electrical resistance. A buoyous moisture meter. A gypsum block. Gypsum blocks are containers made up of gypsum, fiberglass, etc. It based on the principle that electrical resistance increases with decrease in moisture content. Based on conductivity of electricity, low resistance at field capacity and high at PWP. Gypsum block performs satisfactory measurement intra-soil. Not suitable for saline soil, as salt in soil increase conductivity. It is used for measuring soil moisture tension up to 0 to 15 bar and for scheduling irrigation of crops of delayed intervals. C. Neutron moisture meter. Rapid method used for field or in situ measurement of soil moisture from large volume of soil based on the measurement of number of H nuclei present in a unit volume of soil. Greater the water content of soil, the more is number of neutrons, which will be slowed down, and vice versa. 671118, a competitive book of agriculture. This is best method at present available for quantities estimation changes in soil moisture. AIS 05D, pressure member and pressure plate apparatus. It is used for laboratory measurement of soil moisture potential, generally used for estimating FC, PWP, and moisture content at different pressures. It is suitable for measuring soil moisture tension, 0 to 15 bar. Soil moisture characteristic curve. A curve showing relationship between the energy statuses of water, i.e. tension, and amount of moisture in soil. Soil moisture characteristic curve. For sandy soils, L-shaped. For clay soils, I-shaped, almost a straight line. E.t. evapotranspiration. Total amount of water lost due to transpiration by crop and evaporation from the soil surface during a specified time from a particular area. Evapotranspiration constitutes nearly 99% of the total water uptake. PET, potential evapotranspiration concept of PET, was given by Thornthwaite, 1948. The ET occurs when the ground is fully or completely covered by actively growing vegetation and no limitation of soil moisture. PET is the upper limit of ET for a crop in a given climate. Measurement of ET, A, lysimeter. It consists growing of crops in large containers installed in a crop field measuring their water loss and gains. ET and leaching losses can also be measured by lysimeters. B, soil moisture depletion studies. Depletion, D, equals FCPWP x D, dB. Where FC equals field capacity. PWP equals permanent wilting point. D equals depth. dB bulk density. C, ET can be measured by evaporation data. I, USWB class, A, open pan evaporimeter. It is standard evaporimeter, most widely used by agro-meteorological observatories. 681118, a competitive book of agriculture, it having diameter of 120 centimeters with a depth of 25 centimeters, and it filled with water up to 20 centimeters, it is painted white. Evaporation is expressed as millimeter a day. 2. Sunken screen evaporimeter developed by Sharma and Dastain, 1968. It is used to measure evaporation. ET. Under field conditions, it is determination of Peru time/Eastern time ratio, which according to them varies from 0.95 to 1.05. 3. Portable evaporimeter. It was developed in Israel in 1984 to measure evaporation for very short periods. Consumptive use of water. It is used to designate the losses due to evapotranspiration and the water used by the plant for its metabolic activities. CUET. Water used in metabolic activities, about 99% of water loss in plant due to evapotranspiration. By only 1% of water is used in actual metabolic process. Estimation of Peru time/Eastern time. A. Penman method, developed by Penman, 1950 for estimating evaporation from free water surface. It is most accurate estimation of ET, as it utilize all meteorological parameter responsible for ET. B. Water use efficiency. WUE. It is the yield of a marketable crop produced per unit of water used in evapotranspiration. OR. WUE. The dry matter produced per unit of water used, and it expressed as kilogram per millimeter. Water use efficiency are two types. I. Crop water use efficiency. It is the ratio of crop yield, Y, to the amount of water depleted by the crop in the process of evapotranspiration, ET. WUE, crop, equals Y, ET. 2. Field water use efficiency. It is the ratio of crop yield, Y, to the total amount of water used in the field, WR. WUE, field, equals Y, WR 691119, a competitive book of agriculture's water use efficiency of major field crops. WUE, kilogram, per millimeter. S.N crop finger millet. 13.42 wheat, 12.63 groundnut, 9.24 sorghum, 9.05 pear millet, maize 8.06 rice. 3.7, lowest, unit 8 terms crop curing, tobacco, tea onion stripping, nipping, wrapping, jute gram, cotton sugarcane propping, banana trashing. Oil percentage in field crops, crop sugarcane oil %. Coconut, sesame, groundnut, castor, safflower, 60-46 to 52-45 35 to 58-24 to 36 soybean. Rapeseed and mustard, protein content in cereals, 33 to 39-20 rice, maize, bajra, 6 to 7%, 10%, 11 to 12% wheat, 11 to 12% gluten, sorghum, 10 to 12% barley, 11.5% albuminoids, protein content in pulses, gram, 21.1%. Lentil, 25% pea, 22.5% aha, 21 to 25% moong, 25% URD, 24% cowpea, 23.4%, known as vegetable meat. 70 Protei, 1119, a competitive book of agriculture protein content in oilseeds, 42% soybean. 18 to 20% groundnut, 26% sesame, linseed 36% samoa, cake 40 to 45% classification of crop based on families. 1. Graminy, new name is Poaceae. It is largest cultivated crops family known as grass family including cereals, Napier grass. 2. Leguminosae, Papilionaceae for example. Pulses, groundnut, sun hemp. Basim, alfalfa, daitcha, methi etc. 3. Solanaceae, brinjal, tomato, potato, chilix, tobacco. 4. Cruciferae, brassicaceae mustard, radish, cabbage, cauliflower 5. Cucurbitaceae, all goods, cucumber, pumpkin. 6. Malvaceae, cotton, bindi. 7. Asteraceae, compositae sunflower, safflower, Niger. 8. Chenopodiaceae, spinach, beet, sugar beet. 9. Euphorbiaceae, castor, topica. 10. Convolvulaceae, sweet potato. 11. Umbelliferae, coriander, cumin, carrot. 12. Aliaceae, onion, garlic 13. Zingiberaceae, ginger, turmeric. Unit 10 Crop Production 1. Paddy, or as a sativa 2 N equals 24 rice, is the staple food of more than 60% world population, and most of the people of SE Asia. About 90% of rice grown in the world is produced and consumed in Asia. It is a crop of wet tropical climate, and also grown in humid regions of subtropics. In India, rice occupies the first position among the cereals in respect of both area and production. Rice contains less protein 6 to 7% in white rice, and 7.9% in brown rice, and contains 2 to 2.5% fat, which is lost during milling. Hulling percent in rice is 66%, or 2/3 of paddy. In general, cereal crops required about 400 to 500 liters of water for the production of 1 kilogram of plant dry matter. But rice consumed 10 times more water, i.e. 5,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram rice grain, OBC, Bank 09. 71.